This clip is brought to you by SaveWithConrad.com.
I want to mention Jericho gets put in a feud with Chyna, which is where supposedly the heat comes from. He's supposed to bump and feed for her, but when he accidentally busts her face up, he gets heat for quote unquote working too stiff.
Yeah.
Do you remember this incident and any potential fallout from him? And do you ever wind up having a conversation with him about it, since you are running talent relations here?
We may have chatted about it or said, look, you get some heat on him because Chyna's politically connected. I think she was dating Triple H at the time. And so he rode in with his white horse and rescued her. It was a potato. It was inadvertent. He didn't go out to hurt her. He didn't intend to hurt her. It just happened. And let's also be honest about it. I had hours of conversations with Joni over the years, especially in the last year or so of her career there. She was not Jack Briscoe. She was not Triple H. And so anything that went awry, I'm sure he was going to hear about it from her. And, that's why I've always said, wrestling relationships are very daunting. They seldom work, but, and some have. Like his Triple H's marriage to Stephanie's has been beautiful. They got, I think, 3 beautiful daughters. So, but I just said, you're going to get some heat over this dude. But Jericho was undaunted. You couldn't intimidate the little bastard. He was fearless, and he knew that it was a potato. They happen all the time in wrestling. And, so I don't think it bothered him a hell of a lot. I'm sure he apologized like a pro would. Other than that, it was kind of one-dimensional. The source of consternation was from one person.
Armageddon 99, they have a pay-per-view match, and Chris Jericho wins the Intercontinental title from Chyna. That's a real sentence. Meltzer would say this was actually the best wrestling match on the show, which is a real credit to Jericho because Chyna was really exposed with her bad-looking offense, particularly the forearms, which she needs to retire from her repertoire. Jericho had to sell her bouncing off the ropes like someone beginning wrestling school. So he was pretty critical here. He, Big Meltzer, pronouns pal. After the match, Chyna interrupted Jericho's interview and told him that she was the better wrestler last month, but he was this month, and shook his hand. 2.25 stars. So it's pretty cool. It's a big deal for Jericho to win the Intercontinental title, but it's probably not the way he envisioned it. He won it from Chyna.
Yeah. Well, nobody envisioned it.
Yeah.
One of the things, and this is going to get heat on me, I know, but let the hide go with the towel, as they say in the country. I've never been a big fan of intergender matches. I think they very easily become very hard to buy, hard to believe. And there's safety issues involved. Jericho had to dumb his game down to have the match get 2.5 stars from Meltzer in this thing. He had to back off a little bit. He couldn't do everything he wanted to do. He sure couldn't work as snug as he normally worked. That was one of his calling cards. And I think the audience will love that. They attached to that. So I'm just not a big fan of those intergender matches. But because of Triple H's influence and his relationship with Chyna and his relationship with Vince, she got a lot of a lot of breaks. And without a doubt, I remember somebody telling Austin and I were talking, and I just screwing with him. Said, I think they're going to do a big program with you in Chyna. Boy, that son of a bitch went off on me. I was made it up. I was just screwing with him. Or as they say in New York City, I was busting balls. And that was a relationship Steve and I had then and still do now. We have fun with each other. So I think that she got moved along too fast, and the intergender shit. Now, Russo would love the intergender stuff because it was an attraction. It was a gimmick. And just me, and it's not Russo, but just my personal taste is I didn't like intergender matches. And there's going to be somebody who's going to hear this. So, JR, you're behind the times and all that stuff. It's just not realistic in a lot of ways. So, but that's kind of where we were with that. She was on the right side of the aisle with Chyna, and she got a break that a lot of the boys, I had to listen to it. They wish they had. They wish they'd got that break. They wish they had been Intercontinental Champion. Instead, it was a woman, which is going to sound very unpolitically correct for me to say that. I get that too. So I apologize if I offend anybody with that remark. It is a personal preference. I'd rather not be engaged in an intergender match. And maybe I am too old school. To me, though, it just doesn't seem realistic.
In Jericho's book, he talks about a meeting on Raw the next day between you, Vince, Chris, and Jack Lanza, and you're discussing Jericho's work. This meeting obviously isn't a surprise to you. Your quote unquote office at the time. Do you remember this meeting and why it was necessary?
Oh, vaguely I remember it, but it was necessary because Vince had been convinced that Jericho was careless and that he wasn't safe. He wasn't safe with one woman in an intergender match. Are you kidding? So, yeah, I remember that. Now, going back over all of our notes as I did last night, I just think that, Vince Vince was then able to go tell Triple H, who we were counting on, he was becoming a huge star, great heel, that I talked to Jericho. I got that cleared up. Okay, so that's one squeaky wheel that moves on to something else. So I think that's kind of what it was. Triple H's influence with Vince is strong. And who would have dreamed in that era that he would become Vince's son-in-law?
So Jericho has to apologize to Chyna after the meeting. And as the legend goes from Jericho's book, Vince called Jericho the drizzling shits and says moving forward, he has to run all of his matches through X-Pac. And Vince says he feels like he was sold a bill of goods.
That was good for me, right? That's slapping me in the face. Here, just hit me again right there if you can, Vince. That'd be good. Slap me with an open hand if you can. Break my eardrum. I didn't like it. Again, it just wasn't objective.
How much of this, and again, we're not, by the way, I want to just take a time out. Shout out to Paul Levesque. We hear that he has made a speedy recovery and he appreciates all the support. We know he had a health event and they're keeping all that close to the vest, but we're so grateful that he's here and his contributions. But we are talking about something that happened 20 years ago. And it does feel like this meeting is maybe Hunter's request. We're talking about this guy was too rough and hurt my girlfriend at the time. And oh, by the way, moving forward, all of your matches need to be run through one of my very best friends, Mr. Sean Waltman.
Hey, look, I love Sean Waltman. God bless him. He's texting me all the time and checking on me. How you feeling? Or, it's always positive feedback. I love this kid. And I was very happy to be able to work with Sean. I think Sean's got a great mind. Vince could have picked we've been challenged to pick a better person to go over Jericho's matches than Sean Waltman, who's a true student of the game and still is. But it was very insulting to Jericho. It was a little bit insulting to me, and not because of X-Pac. The X factor didn't have anything to do with it. It's just the fact that you're neutering and trying to kill the spirit of a guy that I had high hopes for. And I didn't want to see that opportunity go to flush down the toilet because of a personal issue.
So the goofy segment where Jericho and Chyna do a double pin and are named co-intercontinental champion. What do you think old Leroy McGurk would have thought of that creative?
Well, much like the Cowboy, it would never have happened.
Yeah.
You wouldn't have put yourself in that position. That was the sports entertainment side of WWE really becoming more of a profound impact to how we philosophize the shows. Sports entertainment. And certainly that was sports entertainment. It wasn't an athletic, traditional issue. It was sports entertainment. And look, I ain't bitching about sports entertainment. The sports entertainment business made me a lot of money, and I had 26 great years there at WWE by and large, a few little exceptions, but by and large, it was fine. The checks always cleared and they came on time, and I got a lot of exposure, blah, blah, blah. But I just felt bad for Chris. But here's the thing about Chris. He hung in there. A lot of guys would say, screw this shit. I don't need somebody to tell me how to work. And they didn't. He's good. Really, he still is really good. He's 50 now. He's still really good. So I felt badly for Chris, but to his credit, he didn't give up the ship. He stayed in the saddle and rode it out, and the good things would then eventually come to him.
Hey, it's Conrad Thompson. Thanks for checking out the podcast here on YouTube. Be sure to hit the subscribe button and the notifications bell so you get a notice anytime we upload some new content. And go save yourself some money right now. If you're in a 30-year loan or you have credit card debt, it's not a matter of if I can save you money. It's a matter of how much. Find out right now for free at SaveWithConrad.com.